Welcome to this explainer. Okay, if you're prepping for the UPSC Civil Services exam, you already know the syllabus feels like an absolute mountain, right? I mean, it's massive, it's intimidating, and frankly, it can be pretty confusing. But today, we're going to completely demystify General Studies Paper 1 together. We are going to decode this gigantic syllabus into a highly actionable blueprint and show you exactly where to focus your time and energy. By the end of this explainer, you're going to have a crystal clear understanding of what to study, how long it should actually take, and the exact resources you need to use.
But before we get into the weeds, I've got to ask you something. Do you know the real UPSC syllabus? Because there's a massive secret here that catches thousands of beginners completely off guard. Honestly, it caught me too. The official prelim syllabus provided by the UPSC is basically an illusion. It's intentionally vague and completely lacks clear boundaries. The real secret to conquering this exam is actually reverse engineering the detailed main syllabus, because that is where the UPSC explicitly tells us what they want. So here is our roadmap for today. First up, the secret of GS1. Then we'll dive into the massive pillars of art and history, Indian society, and the world of geography. After that, we'll uncover some hidden prelims topics. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with the right strategy and the absolute best sources to use.
Let's jump into Section 1. The secret of GS1, the prelims versus mains matrix. Let's expose how the UPSC actually structures things behind the scenes.
When you compare the two directly, it's kind of wild. On one hand, the official prelim syllabus is literally just a cloud of poorly defined topics. No real boundaries whatsoever. But on the other hand, the official main syllabus is incredibly precise. It's neatly stacked into 12 highly specific blocks, or units, and these 12 units reveal the exact targets we need to hit. So to succeed, we absolutely have to rely on these 12 mains units to prepare for both stages of the exam.
So how do we make sense of all these units? Well, when you zoom out, the seemingly overwhelming syllabus naturally groups itself into just 3 manageable core pillars. Units 1 through 5 are entirely art, culture, and history. Units 6 through 9 are dedicated to Indian society, and units 10 through 12 cover geography. Suddenly, that massive mountain we were talking about looks a lot more like a structured staircase, doesn't it?
Moving on to Section 2, Art and History, covering Units 1 through 5. Let's really dig into this first massive pillar.
50. I want you to let that number sink in. That is the staggering number of marks modern history alone carries in the mains exam. We're talking usually 2 10-marker and 2 15-marker questions. And that's on top of the 10 to 12 questions it demands in the prelims. This is a super high-yield area, and it requires your utmost respect and attention. You really need to build this exact chronological narrative in your mind. Think of it as a story. It starts around 1757, the midpoint of the 18th century, with the Battle of Plassey, where we explore how the British established control. Then, we transition into Unit 3, highlighting 1885, the formation of the Congress, and all the incredible phases of the freedom struggle, from Swadeshi all the way to Quit India. Finally, Unit 4 brings us to 1947 and beyond, dealing with the massive, complex task of post-independence consolidation and integrating the princely states.
Now, here is a massive trap you want to avoid. There is a stark contrast between Unit 5 and the rest of the history syllabus. Unit 5 is world history, the Industrial Revolution, world wars, capitalism, communism. But get this, world history is mains exclusively. It usually yields just one single question. That means you should really only invest about 20 to 30 hours of study time here. Compare that to modern Indian history, which hits both prelims and mains with huge weightage, demanding 60 to 75 hours of your time. The big takeaway here? You've got to be strategic. It is so easy to overstudy world history at the expense of modern India, but the data tells us exactly where our time is best spent.
Let's step into Section 3, Indian society, spanning Units 6 to 9. We are moving right from the past into the present with our second major pillar.
These 4 units are incredibly conceptual, and they tie directly into current events. This is all about understanding the fabric of modern India. You'll be studying our unity and diversity, the evolving role of women from the 18th century to today, and the massive real-world challenges of population, poverty, and urbanization. Plus, we've got to tackle the effects of globalization on different demographics, along with really complex, sensitive issues like communalism, regionalism, and secularism.
But here is the absolute kicker. Indian society is mains exclusive. Literally 0 questions in prelims. So your target study time here should be around 40 to 45 hours max, maybe even just 20 to 25 hours if you're reading a standard textbook. As focused learners, we have to optimize. Whatever you do, please do not waste precious prelims prep months deeply analyzing subjects that are only going to show up in the mains.
Okay, Section 4, the world of geography, covering units 10 to 12. This is arguably the most demanding and heavily conceptual section of the entire paper.
100. Out of 250 marks in the mains GS1 paper, geography alone often commands up to 100 of them. Toss in the 12 to 15 questions it consistently produces in the prelims, and you can see why this subject is an absolute beast. It requires immense respect, crystal clear conceptual clarity, and some very serious map reading skills.
The geography syllabus basically breaks down into 3 distinct buckets. Unit 10 is physical geography. Think geomorphology, climatology, earthquakes, and ocean currents. Unit 11 is all about the distribution of natural resources across India and the world, and analyzing exactly why primary, secondary, and tertiary industries are located where they are. And finally, Unit 12 deals with geophysical phenomena, natural disasters, and the changes we're seeing in critical geographical features like flora and fauna.
Speaking of disasters, here is an incredible expert insight for you. The disaster management and geophysical phenomena portion of Unit 12 overlaps directly with General Studies Paper 3. Earthquakes, tsunamis, cyclones, they are tested in both papers. Smart aspirants know how to connect the dots across the entire syllabus, and they study these overlapping topics together for maximum efficiency. It's a real game changer.
Let's dive into Section 5, Hidden Prelims Topics, Ancient and Medieval History. This is a massive secret that catches so many beginners completely off guard.
This is wild. The 12 official mains paragraphs we've been using as our blueprint, they totally skip ancient and medieval history. They are literally just not there. But when you look at the actual prelims exam, it heavily tests topics like the Indus Valley Civilization, Buddhism, Jainism, the Mughal era, and South Indian history. Because they're missing from the mains paragraphs, they act as hidden topics. So you must carve out 40 to 50 hours of dedicated self-study specifically for the prelims just to cover these periods.
And finally, Section 6, Right Strategy and Sources. Consolidating your master plan. We've deconstructed the syllabus, now let's turn this into a highly actionable payoff. We're going to consolidate your master plan with concrete metrics and trusted sources.
Let's turn all that abstract advice into concrete data you can use to build your weekly study timetables right now. Based on expert analysis, art and culture should take you about 50 to 60 hours. Modern history needs 60 to 75 hours. Indian society, remember, it's mains only, so that takes about 40 to 45 hours. And geography, the absolute giant of GS1, that requires a hefty 150 to 180 hours of dedicated study to truly master the concepts.
Take a moment to really lock these sources in, because this is the master list. For art and culture, go with Nitin Singhania or the Class 11 and 12 NCERTs. For those hidden prelims topics of ancient and medieval history, rely on R.S. Sharma and Satish Chandra. Modern history is best tackled with Spectrum or Bipan Chandra. For Indian society, you'll want the Class 12 NCERT and Ramahuja. And for geography, your absolute Bibles are the 4 NCERTs from Class 11 and 12, paired constantly, and I mean constantly, with the reliable student atlas for your mapping.
Which brings us to the ultimate critical question for this explainer. Does your current study plan match this blueprint? Seriously, if you've been studying blindly, just reading cover to cover without understanding weightage, or prelims versus mains exclusivity, or proper time allocation, it's time to stop. Realign your prep today using the structured roadmap. Work smart, connect those dots, and tackle GS Paper 1 with absolute clarity. Thank you so much for joining me, and happy studying.